we'll fall into the trap of saying that video games aren't the real world. It
Yeah,
is
I
the
agree.
real world. Things that happen online are real and they have consequences. Taking away a video game is sort of like not letting them go to the party either. College students having their parents email their professors. Very safe, not competent. Step one is being non-judgmental. Very, very challenging to continue to be judgment free, to have a space of, hey, you don't have to change to be here. You can't do recovery for somebody else.
Yeah.
That's a them journey.
Amen. Ooh. Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's episode. I'm excited to introduce you to a new therapist that I've met. His name's Jarrod Hoffman. He is a licensed professional counselor, and he believes that teens are resilient and that parents are valuable. Yes. We have a wonderful discussion on just helping your teenage boy be resilient and how to really relate. It's a great discussion. Hope you enjoy. Hey, Jarrod. So glad to have you today. How's it going?
Hey, Ben, it's going well, and I'm excited to be here.
Good, good. Oh, I'm really excited to pick your brain, and I love that I'm sure, right, you're a mental health counselor, so of course you could counsel, anyone, really, but I love that you have a niche, and I cannot
Mm.
wait to ask some questions about that. As everybody knows, I have 5 sons, so this topic is really important to me and really important to those mothers who have sons. So, I guess we'll just start off with why why did you gravitate toward counseling young men?
Wow, thank you for being so honorable and saying that I could counsel anyone. I feel very encouraged. I can do it. Yes, my parents were divorced when I was 10 years old. I saw porn for the first time when I was 11, and I didn't go to a counselor until I was 25 for the first time. And so the main reason that I think I work with teens is because as I entered my program, I realized that not a ton of people really wanted to do that. And
Ah,
actually, my wife said at one point, she said, not that you can't work with other people, but for all the other people who can't work with a teen boy, you have to. And that was
aw,
pretty inspiring.
yeah.
I'm a middle schooler at heart too, so I get it.
That's really great that you'd admit that.
I don't think I'd be the only one to say that either. You can text some of my friends and you'd find out pretty fast.
Nice. So there's a you can relate to them as well.
100%.
Well, it's helpful because I feel like that can be really hard. I feel like some people
Mhm,
have a really hard time relating
mhm,
parents, for instance, have a hard time relating to their sons of various
mhm,
ages,
mhm.
especially the moms, right? Because we've never been a boy. But,
Sure.
so there's that. Um, and I really just raising well, 4 of my sons are adults, and then I think most people know I have a 10-year-old. And so it really is different. And of course, we're sort of grouping them all into one, which we all get that they are very different amongst
Mhm,
themselves. But what do you find lacking in society these days, like regarding
mm.
boys?
What a big
That
question. Well,
question.
I want to point to something that we talked about previously that I loved. Particularly with your 10-year-old boy, is I think we were talking before, and you were talking about playing video games with him.
Oh, I did. Yes. I played, I think, a video game. I think I probably played once with one of my older sons. It was Smash Brothers. He absolutely obliterated me and was so happy to tell everyone he knew for at least the next month, right?
Mhm,
And he still remembers that. He's like 28 right now, and we were talking about it the other day. He's like, "That was like the best day of my life,"
mm,
because one, I don't like video games, and I know some girls do, of course, but I just never, probably my age and whatever, I just could not get my head wrapped around them. I thought they were a waste of time, a waste of money. I couldn't stand them, and so I felt like I had to sort of show that through my actions. Like,
mhm.
well, I'm not going to say this is like okay, or I felt like if I played with him, then I was saying it was okay that he played, but I didn't
Yes.
want him to play. I wanted him to go outside, that kind of thing. So
Mhm,
now that my 10-year-old is in front of me and he asked me to play a game, my answer is yes,
mm.
because I had to learn. It's not about the video game, it's about time with my son.
Yes.
And
You
it's
know,
not like I do it every day, I don't, but I do it more
what
often.
has changed? Well, one thing has changed in 30 years is the type of things that interest them.
Ugh,
And so I don't know what it was like to be a mom 30 years ago, but I guess if there was a gap then, it might be a little larger. You're
yeah,
entering in virtual spaces that you just have even less context for and
yeah,
are more and more niche. So even as a person who knows quite a few different niche video games, I'll have the boys sit there and tell me about something I've never heard of. And I
uh,
live this stuff and it's still a gap. Maybe that's one thing.
yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's interesting. That's one thing that is so different now, screens in general, right? Do you wanna talk a little bit about what you find that what you hear boys saying about their screens or about their
Mhm,
relationships with their friends on screens? Can you tell
mhm.
us a little bit about that?
You know, this is just such a complex issue because I'm glad you connected those immediately. Screens and my friends on screens.
Mhm.
It's not just an activity. Maybe if you were playing Pac-Man back in the day, you were alone or you were at the video game arcade with friends.
Mm.
It's a lot more blurred. The social aspect is so connected to that.
It's so hard.
Yes. Yes, and so, taking away a video game is sort of like not letting them go to the party either,
Yeah.
and so much of it is social standing within the video game is, it's the playing, but it's also the wearing of something that shows their status. I was playing last season, and you can tell that because of what I'm wearing or what my character is wearing.
What?
Smash Bros is actually really that was a kind video game to have you play because it's sort of limited. It's not, it's a single map generally if you're playing with somebody versus like walking around a world. There aren't necessarily different outfits that you're going to be putting on, although that you might change the color. It's a time condensed. Usually it's like a certain number of lives or
Uh,
a certain number of minutes versus never ending, almost like a doom scroll of video games. What are kids saying? I think kids particularly know the pitfalls. I have a neighbor who was I think 10 at the time, and he said, I just can't stop scrolling.
ugh,
They're not most of the time unaware of the problems that these video games have. They don't like that they're having to throw a tantrum either. Like,
ugh,
they'd probably prefer that the conflict that arises from the tantrum doesn't happen.
right.
So it's yes, they're very aware.
That's good to know. What do they wish, like specifically regarding screens? Do you hear boys saying, "Man, I wish my mom, would understand this," or "I wish my dad would
Mhm,
just do
mhm,
this." And that might be more than screens, but
mm,
I'm just
mhm,
so curious because I think a lot of parents are aware that
mhm.
they are meeting their friends online, right? Because I counsel or account well, I coach, excuse me, coach clients.
There's some overlap.
There is some overlap, that's true. And that's their number one concern is, okay, I want to take the screens away at a certain time, right? I
Mhm, mhm,
I want to be able to do that. The parents understand and they realize like, okay, they can only be on so much. Like it's not very healthy for their brains to be on it, whatever they're on it, like maybe 17 hours a day or 15 hours a day or something like
mhm,
that, right? And so then, we talk about boundaries and whatnot. And they're like, but it's almost like you were saying, like sending their friends home too early kind of a thing. But they can play online, till 11, 12,
mhm, mhm,
1 AM,
mhm.
and it's as if, like you're saying, as if they're going to party. So parents are really conflicted of like,
Yes.
okay, where do I draw this boundary? Is my kid then going to fall out of the social standing? And
Mhm,
right? And then that's not what they're meaning to do. They're just trying to get their
mhm.
kid off screens. And so I'm just so curious what what you found. And we found some things that work as well, but I'm just so curious what you found as you're counseling the boys, what they wish their parents would do. How do they want help, even though they can't really ask? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes. I mean, you said my parents don't understand. And that's the number one reason that students or teens or children, maybe children don't verbalize it quite as much, but they come to me is the first 90% of them say. My parents just don't get it.
Yeah.
And they mean something more than like my life online, but I think that's part of it. And so I think parents, I have friends who pay attention to football. It is hard work for me to like keep up with football to any extent to be able to engage them. I almost have to do some prep before I hang out with some of my friends. I'm like, I need to know who's in the Super Bowl at least for like time with this guy.
Right.
And, I think there has to be some intentionality, at least on the content and the experience of video games and screens in general. And that's just very challenging with what's out there, particularly with like a VR experience, like putting on that headset. If I did, I'd probably have some like serious vertigo or something. Right. And so parents like thinking about that almost like as a part-time job of like learning what's out there so that you can connect with them. And
Mm,
your Smash Bros story is probably longer because of what you had to listen to beforehand, the actual playing the game. Like even I was playing with some friends Super Smash Bros. I watched a video to prep for a I sound like I'm 12, but a friend's birthday party. But I
okay.
looked at the video and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is a video game for like video for beginners." And I didn't know 3 of the things. And I've been playing for a long time. And so I tell that story to say if that's how far I am from like the experience of a 12-year-old boy,
Mm,
I think a mom of a teen boy is further just because it's less maybe natural, doesn't interest them. At least it interests me.
yeah.
So, yeah,
Right.
treat it like homework in some ways.
Oh, wow.
That could be a takeaway.
Yeah, that's a big ask, but it's good to know, right?
Yeah.
Well, because I think, like, when they say, "Oh my gosh, my mom or my dad, they just don't get me." Like you're saying, it's pretty broad. But it is
Mm,
interesting because typically, I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong, but a kid is probably thinking about something specific. Do you
hmm.
think?
Very likely. Yeah. Or if you think about it like 80/20 rule. Okay, you don't need to know everything, but
Yeah,
what are the 3 things that could be like 80% of that statement?
right. Yeah. And I'm wondering, here's the hard part though, is if I had a peer that I would say, "Oh, tell me more about what I might not understand." And they'd be like, "Well, Beth, da, da," they would be able to express that. But I think with a boy or a young kid, younger kid, these, uh, yeah, 10 to 18, whatever,
Mhm.
well, and older, they have, as far as I can tell, just a really hard time even knowing what they mean by that, right?
Oh, yes. Yes, Beth, I have a story
Great.
that so I grew up playing video games and I play some very small, a couple hours a month maybe. And got this video game because I heard about it that is called It Takes Two. Have you heard of it?
Oh, I have.
Okay,
Shockingly.
perfect. Yes. This is a great game potentially for like moms to play with their son because the entry point is fairly low. I say fairly because of the story. I got the game, started playing with my wife, and she was in tears, and I was probably in tears too within 20 minutes. And part of the reason, and maybe, this could be a metaphor in some ways, she was trying to ask how to do something, look around, and move at the same time, which is just like a basic video game skill,
Yeah, that I don't
for
have
most
either.
things. Well, you shouldn't have it because you probably didn't grow up doing this, right? And that motion is actually that thing. It's so basic. Look around and move your character at the same time. When you can't do that, it looks like gun is at the ceiling and you're like spinning, right? And so she was in tears, and it wasn't because I wasn't trying to explain it to her. I was, but then I realized I do this naturally.
Yeah.
I don't even think about this. And so maybe if you're thinking about you're trying to connect with your teen boy on a topic that you just don't understand, they might actually be telling you how to do it, but they're not going to be very good at it because they've never been in your position,
Right.
right? We handed them a controller and they figured it out in 25 seconds and they've done it for 8 years.
Right. Yeah. It's a really good point. Okay, so moving, I guess, past screens or on from screens, what are you finding boys are really dealing with these days?
Anxiety and depression, I think, were keywords for
Yeah.
sure, but I still think it's the case, fear about the future, sadness about the present, maybe even the
Mm,
past. I think anxiety is big because, man, let's talk about some things. One is that we'll fall into the trap of saying that video games aren't the real world. Let's start
mm,
there. That's, I think, selling it short. It
yeah,
is
I
the
agree.
real world. It's a different sort of part of the real world, but it is real. Things that happen online are real and they have consequences.
That's so fair. Yep.
However, I think things online foster some anxiety as well. If I'm having like conflict with people on screens, I think it is leading toward that anxiety and conflict outside of screens. I mean, one of the number one things that people come in, they're 16 or 17 and they haven't gotten their driver's license.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yep.
And I think that's rooted in an anxiety about what would happen in the quote real world, maybe the physical world. And then it would be a depression if I'm waking up and I'm not very motivated. Well, the real world's, I fall into it too. The physical world skills required to get to from I'm waking up and I'm able to drive a car legally on the road. That isn't gamified.
Mm,
That takes like commitment and failure and practice paired with the parents' level of anxiety sitting in the
yeah.
seat next to them for what, 50 hours? I don't know how many hours you have to accumulate right now to get your driver's license. And
Yeah.
I
You
think
don't
when
think Grand Theft Auto is a just kidding. Just kidding. It was a
yes,
joke.
Grand Theft Auto, you're exposed to the kind of the idea of real world things, but you haven't had necessarily the practice of the anxiety that comes with it. So
Yeah.
then you get in the car. I don't know. People
No,
smarter than me could probably dig into that.
no, I think it's actually such a great point. And I have several clients over the years talking about like it's such a milestone, right? Being able to
Mhm,
drive
mhm,
for a young kid and they're delaying it, right?
mhm,
They're
mhm,
anxious about it. And I so it's interesting because my adult children had video games, but they did not have social media because they're just a little bit older than that. And so
mhm,
it is different, but there's still tons of anxiety about driving a car, period. I
mhm,
think.
mhm,
There's
mhm,
such a rite of passage, and there's a lot of kids who don't know how to push past that obstacle, right? Of feeling that much
mhm,
anxiety and all that,
mhm.
right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
How are you navigating the difference between your kind of adult children and your 10-year-old and anxiety?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. Um, well, she's just day by day. That's a stupid
Mm,
answer. Just like leaning in and trying to be present with the kid in front of me, which is my 10-year-old. Um, okay, this is what I do. I try to do there's a name for it and I know it. Like a simulation. What is that?
mhm. Yeah, yeah, exposure.
Exposure, thank you. Exposure.
Yes.
So just the other day this is a good question. Just the other day, and our little guy, I'm trying to really pay attention to what he enjoys, even though he's
Mm,
not saying, "Hey, I wanna do this." So, we put him in an acting class because he seems like he kind of likes to perform a little bit, and he does take piano, and so he'll, like, get really nervous for the piano recitals, but he's learning how to push through that, right? That
mm,
obstacle of,
mhm,
like, "I never wanna do this again. I hate this," like, was what he says, and then he does it. So then just Saturday, he was in a little he had to do a monologue. Same thing. "This is so dumb. I hate this. I hate you for signing me up," like all the things. And I said, "Yep, yep. Uh-huh,
Mhm,
uh-huh,
mhm,
that's about all I say, and then I try to help him prepare so he
mhm,
can have a good experience, but I also am saying, like, "Hey, like, if you mess up, nothing changes.
mm,
You're the same person. Like, we still
mhm,
love you, there's nothing," that kind of thing. But he went and he did it, and then just to see the like, literal, like, elation from
mm,
something
mhm.
hard. So, that's one thing, and there is a nuance and a balance or a feeling into what your kid like, what's too much, right?
Yes.
Pushing them too much. I don't wanna do that, but also kind of, like, nudging him a little forward to doing hard things. That's something that I do to try to help with the anxiety is this is normal. Anxiety is normal
Yes.
in our lives, and you can get through it to some degree. So,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah,
one thing.
the anxiety is on the road to doing something awesome,
Yeah.
both for the child and for the parent,
Yeah,
right?
of
You
course.
had to navigate some anxiety of, am I pushing them too hard? Is this outside of the window of tolerance zone of proximal development?
Am I
Or
controlling him too much? Should I lay off? Oh, I should
Mhm.
definitely take him out of this. Oh, I just all
Yes.
the doubt.
Yes.
It's true.
Is this really aligned with the goal that I have for them? All those kind of questions are just your own
Yep.
and not even his. And I love this. This is a tool. Your listeners can look it up. It's called, I believe, the fear hierarchy, kind of
Yeah.
tackling. You know about this. It's phenomenal. And so
Yeah.
even letting, I'm curious what your son would have said. Where is this on the scale from 1 to 10? And is this helping you get to where you want to go? And I'm guessing even if he doesn't want to do the acting, particularly in the future, he wants to be able to have the skills and be able to stand up there. And I think you said maybe play the piano because this is courage.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And then I think, where am I going with this? I'm not trying to make him an actor. You know what I mean? I mean, whatever, right? Like, I don't care. Be an actor, don't be an actor, whatever.
Mhm,
But
mhm,
I'm trying to expose him to a decent but manageable amount of obstacles, hard things.
mhm, mhm,
It is so hard because the doubt does come into my mind. And here's the other thing, right? This is along the same lines, but a little bit different, is he has nightmares,
mm,
right? And I had nightmares a lot.
mhm,
And so if you have a wound, right? If a parent has a wound that matches the kid, I am like, I just want to love him up and pull him into my bed every night,
mhm,
just,
mhm,
so he doesn't have to, because I remember how horrific that was. And I remember my mom
mhm,
doing the same for me,
mhm,
which, I mean, just in high school, I would have such bad nightmares. I would actually just go and sleep on her floor. So there's a
mm.
little about me. And so that's very tender to me. And so, but my husband's like, no.
Yeah. Are
And
you're saying, like, almost look at what your child might be dealing with and wonder if you have some part in that,
right.
maybe?
Yes, and try to
Mm,
figure out wh and that's very hard to draw the line because you might be able to relate to that in a like, an over empathetic way,
right,
right?
right.
And so that's what's tricky about like, we're talking about sort of, like, nudging our kids into obstacles or doing the hard thing a little bit. So that's the
Yes.
hard thing, I think, for parents is a lot of times their hardship resonates with you, and then it's
Oh, yeah.
very hard to know, "Oh my gosh, am I pushing them too far?" I don't want them to feel like I felt, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap them up in
Yes.
this big bubble of, rescue.
I think that brings up a story for me, and I think because there is a difference, I mean, some people might listen and go or watch me interact with a teen, they're like, "Wow, that's so natural." They're not my kid. Like,
Yeah.
if it's my kid, we're gonna have some issues, and the story that I usually tell parents is, this time that I was at this roller rink, and we had kind of an event, and this kid comes up. He was probably pushing, like, 7, and I'm, like, manning the drink station, and so it's a cooler full of, like, Capri Suns, and so he picks one up, and he hands it to me. I don't know this kid, and I'm thinking, "You want me to help you do that? Absolutely not. This is something you can do," and he goes, "Ugh." And so he, like, takes the plastic straw off, unwraps it, and he puts the flat end down and it doesn't work. And then he hands it to me. And I go, I think there might be two sides to that straw. And he rolls his eyes and he turns it and he pops the thing and walks off.
Mm.
That's usually the story I tell to encourage parents to let their child do something that is actually within their ability. But the second part of that story is when I go home and I have my 2-year-old with the milk and I freak out because she's walking around and she's going to get milk everywhere.
Totally.
She can do it, but that's tapping into, like, I don't want it to be a mess. I'm gonna have to clean this up. That's my issue that I take home to my child, but with other children, super easy. You can make this place as messy as you want, right? So, I think maybe the question of, like, how do I connect with my boy? Maybe one of those things is I don't know everything about the video game, and I have to navigate my own anxiety around this video game
Yes.
and know that if you're playing with your friend's teenager, it would be a dream. It would be easy
Mm.
because there's no, that's probably not getting in the way.
Yes, that's such a good point. And I love that story about the straw. Oh my gosh. That is so, and there might be some parents who are like, I can't relate to that. It's like, yes, you can. I'm just going to
Mhm,
say, yes, we're not,
mhm,
your 17-year-old is not coming to you with a Capri Sun straw issue, but you can relate it to whatever
mhm,
they're coming to you with. Like,
mhm,
um, I can't go to school today, right? Something
mhm,
like that. Or, I can't call that friend, or I can't ask this some person out, or, to the
mhm,
dance, or whatever it is. We do tend to coddle, not everybody,
mm,
but
mhm,
that's the prevalent issue, I guess, that I
mhm.
run into is the rescuing coddling, because we just don't want our kids to suffer. And we just,
Yes.
here's, I have to bring this up. This just kind of came in my head from left field, but I think society tells parents, you are responsible to keep your kids safe.
Mhm,
And that is true when they are young. Very, very true.
mhm, mhm,
And I
mhm,
get that, right? Of course, I'm responsible for my 2-year-old's safety, for Pete's sake, or even my 5-year-old's, right? But as they get older, it feels like it more gets in the way, because if
mhm,
I'm thinking I have to keep my 17-year-old safe, which I did used to think, right? When he was
mhm,
into
mhm,
drugs and all those kinds of things, it got
mhm,
in the way of me understanding that I'm actually now supposed to be raising an adult, not
mhm.
keeping my kids safe. And it's
Yes.
and it's really tough, because of course there came to a point where safety was an issue. And so then he went to wilderness and all of that. So it's like I can't say, "Hey, you can't keep your kids safe." I'm like, but there is a time and a place for you to step in as your kid gets older. You need to be backing off. So that's my humble opinion. Do you want to
Yes.
speak to
No,
that?
it's counterintuitive. Jonathan Haidt, of course, is talking about safety versus competency.
Yes,
And
yes.
somewhere from age 4 to 17, that's shifting,
Yeah.
and absolutely, yeah, if you have a safe kid at 17, that's great, and then they're gonna go off to college maybe, and they're gonna have to deal with maybe all the stuff that was you didn't allow them, 'cause competency comes from failing,
Yes.
from
Yep.
tears, and from anger. The statement I love is I steal most of the stuff I'm saying right now, but I can't ask the girl out. No, you don't know how to ask the girl out.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that. Maybe it's I know how to do it, but I don't feel like I can. That's different.
Right. Yeah. Very, very true.
That's where you get the helicopter parent stuff, right? College students having their parents email their professors.
Yeah.
Very safe, not competent.
Yeah. Let me just do that for you. Um, I like to say, and here's something I stole as well, that confidence comes from competence.
Mm,
And
mm.
so many
Say
parents like,
more.
oh, yeah. It's like so many parents are like, gosh, I just can't. There's like my child has so much um, geez, lack of self-esteem. That's what I'm trying to say.
Mhm.
Low
Yeah.
self-esteem. And I'm like, well, are they allowed? What are they allowed to do? What are they allowed to try? What
Mm.
are they allowed to fall and hit their face on,
Wow.
So
Yes.
it's tricky, because a lot of times my audience is dealing with really crisis things. It's like, well,
Mhm.
I can't let them hit, skin their knee on cocaine. Right.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
and that's tough, right? And
Yes.
so if you know that that's happened, you're gonna try to block it. Of course you
Mhm,
are. And so it's like, I get it, but then it's also really hard to be in that position where you feel like you constantly are trying to bat something like that away. Do you know what I mean?
mm.
As if it's a fly. Like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah, the saying that comes to mind is that kids change when they know they don't have to, and so and that's why, that's why the therapy work for me, that I mean, I have the easy job, is because I get to be judgment free because I don't live with them.
yeah,
They come in here, no judgment, go home, and then the parent has to deal with it, and so the hardest part is when you've made that 18, 16-year investment on seeing them thrive, and then they meet a new challenge that is, right, drugs,
yeah,
risky behaviors, that is just a new beast that has not been, it's strong, right? It's powerful. We don't know the whole story. We don't know what's going to happen. Very, very challenging to continue to be judgment free, to have a space of, hey, you don't have to change to be here.
yeah. Just the acceptance of that is just so lovely.
Mm.
But I also love that you're speaking to that's very difficult for a parent to have that
Mhm.
non-judgmental. Like, you could tell me anything you want.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
because some parents will say, then I'm like, you don't need to be their therapist, right? But
Mm. Mhm.
having some skills and tools as a parent can be extremely helpful.
Mhm.
So, okay. So I don't know if you can think about the parents of the kids you've been counseling. And if
Mhm.
there's ever a time where you just felt like and you probably do this anyway. I don't know how often you talk to the parents of your clients.
Mhm.
Um, but if you had like just all their ears available to you, which you have some of them, I might, what would you say? What would you say to the parents? Just, I know there's probably like a list of things you might say, but I don't know what comes to your mind.
The let's stick with this thread here. The student, the teen who is doing things in a way you wouldn't have done,
Yeah.
or you hoped would be different, right? How many of the parents that we're talking about also experimented with drugs, maybe at a
Yep.
younger age? This isn't something that's new to this generation, right?
Yeah.
Motivational interviewing is one of those tools that you're talking about. It's something that I have and worked on. You probably use as coach all the time. And the key characteristics there are non-judgment.
Yeah.
Hey, you're going to come back. And it's, how do I get somebody to find the motivation to change when they might not have any?
Yeah.
Step one is being non-judgmental. So that takes a lot of work for a parent to truly create a space where there's no judgment.
Yeah.
But the second part of that is that you have to be able to give them the space to work it out on their own, right? You can't do recovery for somebody else.
Yeah.
That's a them journey.
Amen. Ooh.
One of the tools that if parents can do anything, challenge them to do this. Imagine in your next conversation with your teen about a topic that you're just like, want to wring their neck. Like, that answer is so obvious. Do this. They know. They have, you explain it to them. They have maybe even more resources on that topic because they're in it.
Mm.
How do you get somebody to change? It is not usually because they need more knowledge.
Amen again.
And so the tool that I use is, like, imagine you're a mirror in the next conversation, and one time in the conversation, you just reflect back what you've heard. So I'm really struggling not to do X behavior. If they were able to verbalize that, you're really finding it challenging not to throw the controller across the room and just wait. And I think in conversation, it's so quick to give our opinion, to tell them what the facts are, to tell them last time you did this and remember what happened, and not just say, you are really struggling to work this out for yourself. Pause. It's amazing what will
Oh,
happen next. And so if there's some homework on that, once per conversation with your team, just mirror, show them what they just said,
mm,
and see what happens. I think it usually leads to some growing awareness, a space that's free to process something that maybe they've only just heard your opinion.
Right. Or they might think you're just telling them what to do all the time.
Mhm, mhm.
Oh, I love
Eh
that. That's really
yeah,
helpful.
yeah.
Thank you for that.
Man, we could go way further, but I'll stop there.
Those are good. Maybe parents can start with those. I love that. That's so helpful. Yeah, motivational interviewing is available to like the lay person. So
Oh, yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah.
awesome. Super helpful. And like you're saying, or we were both saying, is like that's one of the skills that a parent could really
Mhm,
do
mhm.
take far for sure.
Yes.
Um, and it's interesting because we don't, we have so many answers because we had to answer many of those things ourselves. And so then we like giving all
Mm,
the answers and saying all the opinions and telling them what
mhm.
to do. And we're just, man, it's so hard not to do that. It's a skill not to do that, you know?
Yes, absolutely. And that's a good encouragement, like, this is gonna be clunky your
Yeah.
first try.
Great.
It's gonna
Absolutely.
sound weird. I've had people accept that challenge, and then they feel like the person, like, perks up. What's going on? Usually when I say a statement like this, I'm met with something else, and
Right.
you're just understanding me?
Yeah.
Is this a trick? Right? I mean, like, truly, that could be the response of the teen.
Yeah. And yeah, I was just gonna say, so you're saying the first part is non-judgment.
Mm.
That that is hard enough, right, as a parent. But
Mhm.
yes, perfect.
Mhm.
And then you said the second part is that reflective statement. And then the
Yeah.
hardest part is zipping it. Zip it
Yes. Yes.
after that, right?
That's the hard part,
It's the
and
hard
maybe you put your hand over your mouth. I don't
part.
get to say anything. Yes, because the reality is they sit across from me and I operate with non-judgment, I reflect back, I do all the things. You wanna guess what they end up doing? Whatever their parent told them that they should do, because their parent is wise, like, they know. They've lived before. They just need the space
Yep.
for, like, making that decision for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's
I
awesome.
love Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say it turns their brain on. That's what I'm always thinking, like, is what I'm about to do gonna turn his brain on, or is it gonna
Mhm.
turn it off? I sometimes think of things
Yes.
like that, so,
Pick one topic. Don't pick them all, this is really hard.
yeah.
Pick one topic that, like, maybe is the conflict that feels, you're not jeopardizing safety necessarily, and just commit to, "I'm gonna stop giving opinions
Mm.
or advice." Unsolicited advice, I heard this, especially the older you get, is received as criticism.
Yes, 100%.
And so pick that one topic and only reflect. You don't get to advise or share your opinion. Like, email me back if I'm wrong. They're going to make a change about it because they get to
Yeah,
figure out what they actually, maybe they don't clean their room to the level that you do, but maybe it gets a little cleaner. I don't know.
yeah. Oh my gosh, I love it. Thank you for that. That is awesome. I love just a few things to get them started. Is there anything else you'd like to offer today, the audience, since we're almost running out of time?
Yes, that kind of connected to this, and I feel like I'm on my soapbox right now,
I love
and
it.
I probably need to get off soon. But I came across this saying, someone said, "Yeah, listen first." That's great, but if you're using listening as a means to share the advice,
Mm,
it's not going to work. So that's
right.
why I say, like, pick one topic and listen only, and see what happens.
See what happens.
Yes.
Yeah, and keep at it. I keep at
Mm,
it.
mhm.
I love it. Keep reaching out your hand. That's what I like to, I don't know, keep listening. I love that. Thank you so much for today. That was so helpful and it's so great to talk. Um, so if you guys want to get a hold of Jarrod, then all that information will be in the show notes. And yeah, he's taking clients. So
Yeah, I can see clients for counseling in the state of Tennessee at the moment. And, if I can help coach someone through this and empower them to be the person for their child, because here maybe I'll end my last thought on this is like, your therapist, your teen connecting with a therapist, that's like 2 thumbs up. We're very excited about that. But the relationship that they'll have for their lifetime, like a lifetime defining relationship, is not with their therapist.
Mm,
It's with their parent.
yeah.
So Jarrod might be pretty cool for like 12 weeks, but your listeners are the ones who are making the change in their teens' lives for sure.
Oh, thank you for saying that. I do. I think it's like, yes, I so many kids do need a therapist or a coach or whatever, and it's so helpful. But I that's why I'm always like, I just want parents to do their work. This is why I'm
Mhm,
here.
mhm.
So thanks
Yes,
for saying that.
yes. Yeah,
Um,
the parents can just go to your website and find out some cool stuff.
yeah, there you go. Thanks for that. Awesome. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us today. You guys take care.